rebuilding the 12th district and restoring it, our reputation as a great place to live, a great place to go to school, and a great place to work, we can accomplish together. You agree? Thank you. Now let's move on to number 2. We're going to talk about education and putting systems in place and programs that will allow our children to develop. Teens to continue to learn, young adults to continue to prosper, and our seniors to rejoice. Can I get a hallelujah for my seniors in the house? All right, let me make it happen. Betty Murray, I want to wave and say hello. I want to congratulate you again for receiving the honor of Women of History Month in the City Council representing the 12th District. Can we give Betty Murray a hand? Now, when we talk about education, my thought, my vision of education, understanding that education starts from pre-K all the way into adulthood, and education is just not in the classroom. So I see the NAACP, Early Childhood Center, Mr. Wynn, and the whole board there. Thank you for the work that you all are doing to help the next generation start out in the right way. Now, this 12-point plan goes back to early education, starting from the cradle to the time we turn silver, or for some of us, go old. But a few months ago, I penned a phrase that appears on most of my stationery, my correspondence, and it says, "Our perseverance in the future lies in the resiliency of our past." I'll say that again. Our perseverance in the future lies in the resiliency of our past. And I say this because this phrase stands so true. When I recall decades ago, there was a writer by the name of Rudolph Flesch who offered to give a friend's 12-year-old son a reading lesson because the boy was having problems in school and reading. The writer discovered that the boy was not so maladjusted. He was just merely exposed to an ordinary American school. So the writer decided to investigate how reading was taught in the U.S. and published a 222-page book entitled "Why Johnny Can't Read." Now let's fast forward 59 years later. Today, yes, Johnny can read, but his test scores are atrocious. What can we do about this? Well, our schools in our district have an overall score of 50.875. Now, half of anything isn't great. I know we want to see the cup is half full, sometimes it's supposed to half empty, but when it comes to the education of our children, we definitely need to fill up the cup a little bit more. These scores include our children's student progress, our students' performance, and the school environment that they're in. So, if they're 50% of success, then we need to do some things differently. So I suggest one of the things that we need to do, we need to make sure that our schools have better technology in the classrooms to assist our students. Secondly, we must return the idea of the classroom as being a high place of performance and expectation. Where we say greater expectation on our children, we can allow them to raise the standards within themselves to deliver. And I always say to everyone, we have this conversation that's going on now in the DOE, which is better when we start talking about charter schools and public schools. And the sad thing about that whole scenario is that we need to be focusing on making sure that we create an education system that works for every child in New York. So we don't have parents fighting against parents, siblings on different rooms, different building floors of the building, and let alone lobbyists going back and forth trying to figure out which system works best. At the end of the day, we need to get it right because our children, they all have to take the same SATs, the same regions, the same comprehensive test. They have to pass all the same material to move forward. So it only makes sense that the adults in the room, and I'm glad that we have an educator leading the Department of Education now, that we figure out how we merge a system that from universal pre-K all the way to the time they graduate from college, that everybody's on the same page. I think that's the mission moving forward, creating one system for all of our children. Another thing I can see happening million I was able to allocate, it included $25,000 for equipment and upgrade at the Bronx Charter School for Better Learning, over $44,000 for library books and computers and equipment at PS 111, over $53,000 for technology and computer equipment at PS 160, $35,000 for Captain Learning Services Partnership, $200,000 for library upgrades, computer upgrades and projects at PS 78, $70,000 for smartboard and equipment at Richard Green Middle School, and another additional $147,000 for window bars at MS 113, and an additional $500,000 also for the auditorium, which if you've ever been in there and watched the cheers and everything, it's just, I'm not going to say the children tore it up, but they just were in need of a repair. So now we go into an auditorium. It's beautiful as this look. That middle school didn't look anything like this. So I'm glad we were able to get the funding there so we can make sure that that auditorium is up to par. Again, it's making sure that school environments look like they're conducive for learning. In addition, was able to allocate $300,000 for paved path and bleachers and the green area fields in Co-op City for the Co-op City baseball building and any other Co-op City residents that wanted to use outdoor space. And one other thing that I'm really proud of is that the borough president and I, we've ensured and we've already put the money in, and I had a conversation with the Commissioner of Parks, $1.3 million for Agnes Hayward Playground, which is located on 216th Street. And yes, thank you. And we'll be renovating that playground, and we were looking, and I'm pushing them to make sure that we can have this in 2016 completion date. One of the things that I'll be shooting for, and I'm having a conversation with DOE and NYPD, is making that school, making that playground a part of Richard Green Middle School during the day, which will open up more space for children to exercise. It'll also bring a different flavor of safety into that playground. What has happened, and the reality of it is that we have a number of parks that are in our district. If you have a park that's next to a nice development, but it doesn't have those playgrounds get taken care of because they're part of a nice facility. Unfortunately, as great as Aggie Hayward has been to our community, it sits in the middle of private homes. So no one really takes ownership of it. So if we don't take ownership of it, then others take over it, and then we know what can happen. So what we've done is what I'll be looking to do once we complete it, we'll be making it a safe park during the day from the hours of 8 to 4, that if anyone is inside the playground behaving in any behavior that's detrimental to the welfare of anyone, they will be held accountable by the letter of the law. We want to make sure that we create something new, that we bring new activities, new thinking about safe spaces in our community. Growing up, I was a band player, and I used to play the trombone, not the trombone, the baritone horn and the tuba. Now, there's a school, PS 76, that has a dynamic band that performed at my inauguration. But prior to that, every year when they had to go perform, the students had to rent their instruments. Knowing that they were going through the struggle, I was pleased to be able to allocate thousands of dollars, and now every student in there has a brand new instrument that will learn how to play an instrument if they choose to at PS 76. In addition, just last year, Facebook donated more than 130 MacBooks Pro laptops to the 8th graders at John Phillips Susan Middle School as back to school giveaway. And I applaud Facebook, and I encourage other private corporations to give to our schools and our communities. In addition, funny thing, capital project occurred at Advantage St. Ambrose School. And he got that because he's committed to saving children, investing his time. And I give this to us because we've gotten to a point in society that funding spirited activity into action. But you know, when it comes to our children, if you don't have any money, doesn't mean that you don't do the work. I say to us all, lack of funding doesn't mean lack of service. We got to figure out how we volunteer our time to save our children. And in some cases, that means that you might have to go into your own pocket or spend a little more time, and it's with somebody else's child. I go back and take the village to raise the child. You're not always going to be there with your child. You're going to have to help somebody else's child get it right. Because if you don't help that child across the street get it right, if the same child across the street, knocking your child upside the head because no one showed them any love and showed them any attention. So we got to be village to take the child. We got to take a village to raise the child. So for fiscal year 14, I'm pleased, as you will hear from my planners, to give you an update of some of the things that we've accomplished. So I'm glad to say for fiscal year 14 that I allocated over $280,000 of after-school funding just for the 12th district. And just to give you a breakdown, that this includes $5,000 to the education of Chester School program. And the one thing I like about that program, it allows our young people to think outside the box, strategically start thinking. And that's what Chester does for you. I love Chester and Parcheesi. I mean, Chester and Parcheesi, but Chester's where it is. So, just to give you an idea, another $164,000 to the city's Department of Youth and Community Development. And I'm just going to give you some of the places that we're able to give this money to. And that was to the Gunhill Basketball Association, Service for All Foundation, Mind Builders Creative Arts Center, and they do a wonderful job on all level. Mashua Mountain Community Center, New York Junior Tennis League, Miss Alexander Co-op City. She's been doing this for over 30 years, and I give her and her husband credit for being along with us. Fifth Community, who was in the house, I want to thank them for all they've done for helping our after-school programs. Reading Excellence Discovery, where we have teenagers that come from middle schools, they go into our elementary schools, and read with the children and help them out. Sports and Art Foundation, and Unity Neighborhood Center. I saw Jessica Collins in the house. Hey, this is Cowboy, and I hope that the funding that we gave helped you identity